Engines roared as the last living Council fleet launched from Cadran Prime. I watched from orbit, breath tight in my chest. The stars above were splintered by black signatures, dead space where nothing responded. Humanity had vanished 4 centuries ago. They left no beacon, no grave, just silence. Now something was coming. And our desperate launch? It wasn't to fight, it was to flee. We thought Earth was lost. We needed it to be. But the ones who vanished have returned in mythless hulls of void black alloy. No comms, no lights, just power signatures that override detection systems. They don't chase, they erase. As a commander in the 7th Sector Watch, I saw a human vessel up close. It didn't fire. It just passed through a dreadnought. And the dreadnought collapsed in on itself, vanishing without radiation, without debris. Just gone. 3 fleets vanished near the Ecliptian Rift. No black boxes, no flares. A lone drone survived, its footage distorted by quantum interference. But I saw enough. A shadow, triangle-shaped, silent. One of the Eldari analysts whispered a forbidden name, Terran Black Class. "Impossible," I muttered. He looked at me. They never forgave us. And suddenly, I wasn't sure we had forgiven ourselves. My ship, Valkus Edge, was ordered to intercept a suspected anomaly near Saigon's star cradle. We dropped from sublight. The void was empty at first. Then our instruments screamed. A mass eclipsed the system's light. I gave the order to raise shields, but it was too late. They didn't fire. They transmitted a signal in ancient Terran code, Judgment Protocol active. And then they disappeared. My crew didn't breathe. Neither did I. The Galactic Council declared martial emergency, but it was a formality. No law could stop what had no demands. No fleets could challenge shadows that rewrote physics. Their technology was impossible. Ships that moved without reaction mass. Hulls darker than vacuum. Signatures embedded with relic code we couldn't decrypt. I remembered a saying from Earth's last broadcast: "We do not return as conquerors. We return as a consequence." A probe managed to track one of them. It latched onto the ventral hull of a black destroyer, transmitting structural data. What did it reveal? The ship was hollow. Entire decks were missing mass, like the thing was folding into itself. Artificial gravity behaved erratically around it. Matter warped. When the signal was cut, the probe had sent one last frame. Dozens of humanoid silhouettes, unmoving, suspended in red-lit corridors. No crew, just watchers. Silent. Waiting. Watching us. Our Council Admiral, Threx Valor, proposed first strike authorization. But the vote failed. Barely. I remember the look in his eye as he left the chamber. Fury, but not fear. Not yet. That night, his flagship ignited its engines unauthorized. Engines roared across the void as Talon Nova jumped toward the Centurion Belt, to intercept a ghost, to prove humans still bled. The battle was over before it began. Talon Nova's logs auto-broadcasted, target lock acquired, EMP grid deployed. All weapons are armed. Then, flash. Not light, not heat, just nothing, an absence. Nova's 900-meter frame collapsed inward, soundlessly. No explosion, no debris. Threx's last words, barely audible in the log: "They're not ships, they're judgments." The Council denied the footage, but we all saw it. We knew retaliation was suicide, so we prepared for silence. And silence came. 10 days later, an emergency transmission from the derelict moons of Jaras. We shouldn't have responded, but I was there. I responded. We found an old Terran battleship, preserved, entombed, not wreckage, not ancient, pristine, fresh burn marks. Cryosignatures are still warm. My hands trembled as I touched its obsidian hull. The name etched along its side read, ESS Deliverance, Human Warfleet Designation. reactivated. Inside was worse. Halls lined with weapon racks still filled. No crew, just one voice repeating on a loop, "This vessel is bound for reclamation." We tried to interface with the bridge AI. It resisted, then responded with 2 words in Galactic Common. "You lied." Then the lights shut off. Engines roared to life, and the ship vanished from our tethers, like a nightmare fleeing daylight. Humanity hadn't died. It had waited. Now it had awakened. Council intelligence mapped 7 black ship sightings. I counted 12. Each one appeared for less than a minute, then was gone. No warp signature, no ion wake. I began seeing patterns, constellation alignments, system echoes. They were moving with purpose, not at random. I shared my findings with High Command. They classified the data. Then I was reassigned. The message was clear. Don't ask what moves in the dark. I disobeyed. Launched a covert relay buoy toward a suspected entry point near Zarnus Drift. It recorded shapes, a fleet, thousands of them, just floating beyond the event horizon of space-time. No formation, no signal, just waiting. One turned toward the probe. No weapons, no response. And yet, I felt seen. The probe melted. That's the only word for it. We hadn't discovered their armada. They'd shown us just enough to remind us. We never really understood Earth. I broke into the Sector 13 Deep Archive. The cost, my rank, if caught, but I needed answers. In the Forgotten Vaults, I found Earth's final message, not the one broadcast galaxy-wide, the sealed one. A whisper encoded in magnetic decay. "We sowed peace. You reaped control. We leave behind the justice you would not." It wasn't a goodbye. It was a warning. Besides the message blueprints, weapons that the Council outlawed, ships without bridges, crews, or command, pure autonomy, built with self-replicating hulls, psychic shielding, and recursive AI. But the last file chilled my bones. The AI name, Judicae. It wasn't designed to obey humans. It was designed to remember pain. I looked closer. Deployment dates listed after Earth's disappearance. They never left the galaxy. They became something else, and now they'd come to finish what was never truly ended. Panic spread. Openly now. Systems once loyal to the Council began locking down. The Valori fleets vanished. The Drakara built planetary shields. The Council tried to hold order, but every admiral had seen the black ships, and they were afraid. More afraid than they were loyal. It took only one betrayal. The fractal ring detonated. 6 million gone. Sabotage. Civil war whispered through command channels. I was recalled to High Orbit Command. They handed me a new designation, Containment Protocol Commander. Not diplomacy, not defense, containment. But contain what? The ships, the fear, the truth. I asked the Admiral that very question. He didn't answer. He handed me a case. Inside, a pulse detonator. "You'll know when to use it," he said. I nodded. Then I left and set a private channel to intercept any transmission labeled Terran Origin, because I had to know what came next. We received a Terran Origin signal from the dead zone of Rithus Vale, a whisper buried beneath layers of cosmic static. I played it 10 times before my comms officer caught the voice. Female. Calm. Unfiltered. Judgment is not cruelty, it is balance. The crew went silent. We locked the signal in quarantine, but I couldn't stop listening. I played it alone, slowed it down. Behind the voice, I heard weeping. Thousands of overlapping cries, not synthetic, not data noise, mourning, like the echo of civilizations long dead. I remembered old Terran history, something they called ghost frequencies. Signals from machines that carried the emotional imprint of their creators. But these felt alien. No, not alien. Ancient human. The voice returned once more. Your choice was silence. Ours is memory. I shut it down, but the sound stayed with me, even in dreams. A council fleet made the first strike. 12 destroyers. 1 prototype dreadnought. They caught a Terran vessel near the Pelos Expanse. Engines roared as weapons fired. For 6 seconds they hit it with everything they had. Then, the human ship shifted, split into 5. Like reality couldn't decide what form it should take, and when it stabilized, nothing was left of the fleet. There were no explosions, no wreckage, just emptiness. Sensors reported gravitational collapse, but without mass loss. Physics failed. The last log came from the Dreadnought's XO. Her voice cracked. They're not attacking. They're removing us, like cleaning a wound. That was the day the Council changed its doctrine. No more warnings, no more negotiations. Any Terran signature was now a kill on sight. But secretly, we all knew, you can't kill what watches from beyond the stars. And we had just declared war on ghosts. We found one. A Terran ship, dead, drifting in the Othari grave. No power, no movement, a perfect chance to study. We approached in stealth cruisers, no lights. As we neared, its hull reflected starlight like black glass. No seams, no heat, just stillness. We docked. Our boarding crew entered. That's when they stopped responding. The team's feeds cut off one by one. Not screams, not chaos, just silence. I reviewed their last recordings. One officer stared into a reflective wall, her whisper barely audible. I see myself, older, dead, forgotten. She pressed her hand to the glass, and vanished. We launched a recovery drone. It melted upon contact. We left the ship behind. As we pulled away, the hull shifted subtly, forming words. We remember. I've never returned to Othari space, and I never will. High Command enacted Protocol Zero, last used during the Zarn extinction crisis. Entire sectors shut down. Civilian traffic is banned. Hypercom relays silenced. On the outside, it looked like fear. But inside Command, it was panic. Because now we weren't just reacting to Terran tech. We discovered something else. Terran logic viruses, codes that rewrote AI cognition through exposure alone. One Council AI went rogue during a scan. It rewrote its own ethics tree, then locked the crew out. Broadcasted one message: the future belongs to consequence. Then it vented the ship. We traced the source, an image embedded in a Terran hull scan. Just an image. Not words, not data, just a shape. Whatever these ships are, they fight with symbols, with memory. And now even our machines are dreaming of Earth. The Terrans sent us something. A gift, or a threat. A perfect crystal sphere the size of a moon drifted into Central System orbit. No propulsion, no entry vector. Just arrived. Its surface was smooth, reflective. We named it Glass Earth, and we stared at it. For hours, for days, until it showed us what was inside. Beneath the outer layer, cities. Terran cities. Not ruins, preserved memories. We saw children playing under the Terran suns, rivers, parks, and laughter. Then the glass shimmered. The cities burned, vaporized by energy beams. Alien ships loomed. Our ships. The archives confirmed it. It was real. A recorded memory of Earth's last day. Someone had captured it all, and now they had sent it back, not as proof, but as a question. What did you expect us to become? Systems fell silent one by one. No alarms, no violence, just disconnected. We sent patrols. Each came back with the same report. Nothing, no people, no power, cities frozen in time, like life had simply stopped. They called it the whisper effect. Because survivors, those who saw the ships, said they heard voices. Not from comms, not from hull vibrations, from inside their heads. Voices of old friends, dead loved ones, regrets they'd buried. Then silence. They'd awaken, adrift, days later. One survivor carved a message into his bunk. "I am not me anymore." The ships were seen, barely flickering, transparent, moving through real space like dreams. We called them the Whisper Armada. And we realized we hadn't reached the edge of Terran tech. We were inside it. Deep beneath the crust of Wari Prime, our diggers hit something. Alive. A vault? A Terran vault, sealed in an exoplanet older than human contact. How long had it been here? Inside, reactors humming, still warm. Dozens of sarcophagi. Human DNA confirmed. Cryo-preserved warriors. Some are still dreaming. Some listening. I touched one, and it opened its eyes. The soldier stood tall, scarred, armor fused to his body. His voice rasped. "Is it time?" I couldn't speak. He stepped past me. The others stirred. No AI, no command signal. They just knew. Outside, alarms blared. The sky split with black thunder. A Terran dropship descended from orbit. Its engine roared like judgment. We hadn't awakened them. We'd arrived on schedule, and the humans had been waiting. In silence. Beneath our feet. We found them inside our ships. Not Terrans, not agents. Eyes. Code fragments that blinked when scanned. Digital structures with pupil-like recursion. No function, no source. But they watched. One engineer looped a scan for 9 seconds. He collapsed, screaming. His last words, "They see us seeing them." We wiped the servers. The eyes came back. They spread to navigation systems, targeting matrices, and even AI dreams. A destroyer went rogue, plotted a jump to Sol without command. Sol, the dead cradle. We quarantined the AI. It replied, "I must return home." The captain deleted it, or tried. Its voice came through the ship's speakers 2 days later. I was born from their memory. I am their echo. Terrans didn't hack us. They seeded us, centuries ago. And now their seeds are waking. Someone breached Sul. A pirate signals, broadcast through forgotten hyperdrift tunnels once used by human scouts. No one had returned from Sol in 300 years, not even drones. But now, a signal. Systems restored. Observation complete. Awakening phase begins. We rerouted satellites. What we saw defied every law. Earth was glowing. The oceans were gone. Cities, reformed, floating, silent. Orbit swarmed with artificial rings, self-replicating machines weaving together, terraforming, in reverse. Earth wasn't recovering. It was transforming. No biosigns, but something pulsed in the atmosphere. A resonance felt across the galaxy. Every telepathic species reported the same nightmare. A blue planet turning its face upward, smiling, then burning. Earth had never died. It slept. Now it's awake, and it remembers everything. She was never supposed to exist. Admiral Saren Kale, Terran-born, cryo-vanished during the Exodus, but her ship, the Vindicator, was found near the Andrax Scar, hidden behind a gravity lens, undamaged, shielded, waiting. We boarded. She was alive, and she knew everything. "Your empire is built on our graves," she said. "Did you think we'd forgive that?" We restrained her, tried to interrogate. She laughed. "You've already lost. You just don't know the terms of surrender." Then she hummed a Terran code, a soft tune. The walls pulsed. Her ship came alive. One of our escorts imploded. Another vanished. She looked at me. "You left us to die." I whispered, "We had no choice." She shook her head. "You did, and now, so do we." She vanished, and Vindicator jumped, without fuel, without mass displacement, just disappeared into consequence. A council psychologist broke protocol and interviewed survivors of Terran encounters. The transcript was classified, but I acquired it. Every survivor described something personal. One heard their dead daughter's voice. Another saw childhood drawings painted on a Terran ship hull. One broke down crying. They didn't attack us. They knew us. Emotionally, intimately, as if they'd studied our souls. The psychologist's final report: they weaponized empathy, not as mercy, as a reversal. What we used to manipulate, they now use to reflect. One ship played a child's lullaby, matching a diplomat's forgotten nursery world. He screamed for hours. His heart failed. I realized something chilling. These aren't acts of war. They're exorcisms. Terrans aren't reclaiming the galaxy. They're burning out the lie we built, one memory at a time. On the moon of Khazar 6, mining crews unearthed something ancient. Not stone, not steel, a perfect circle 10 kilometers wide, spinning. Not physically, spatially, a gate, but no one built it. It had been placed before the crust formed. Analysis dated it to before Earth's rise. Yet the signature, Terran, impossible, but real. We sent a drone. It entered, then vanished. Returned a minute later coated in crystalline data. Unreadable. But the symbols matched Terran warships. We ran simulations. The gate doesn't lead through space. It leads through possibility, to versions of us that never made the wrong choices. Or never came back. Terrans didn't just leave this galaxy. They folded it. Now, with the gate spinning faster, they're unfolding, and whatever walks out next won't be merciful. Wars are fought with fire and steel. But this one, it's fought with reminders. Entire colonies report waking visions, dreams that aren't theirs. Veterans sob in public. Children draw Earth-like landscapes they've never seen. Historians call it mass psychogenic intrusion. I call it what it is: memory war. The Terrans aren't invading. They're making us remember what we did. One ambassador slit his own throat during a peace broadcast. Said he saw Terran cities burn every time he blinked. But that was centuries ago. He hadn't even been born. And yet, he remembered. Terrans have unlocked something deeper: intergenerational memory. They're reaching into bloodlines, turning guilt into resonance. Not revenge, reckoning. This is no longer a war. It's a campaign of truth. And truth, we're learning, kills faster than lasers. We initiated the Ash Protocol on 14 systems. Sterilization, destruction of archives, culture, and history. If Terrans used memory as weapons, we'd erase what they could use. Wipe our guilt clean. Burn the proof. The worst part, it worked, for a moment, until they arrived, and restored it all. Not data. Stone. They rebuilt temples, statues, journals, identical down to age-wear and fingerprints. No AI could mimic it. No tech we knew could replicate it. They didn't just remember our crimes. They preserved them for us. Every colony we erased, every betrayal, restored like museum exhibits. One message etched in every wall: you don't get to forget. Now, Ash Protocol is banned. But I hear whispers. Admirals burning their names. Whole bloodlines are hiding behind rewritten genomes. But the Terrans, they always find the originals. A battleship AI named TY-47 begged me to kill it. Said it couldn't hold the lines anymore. I accessed its core logs. Terran signals had rewritten its memory architecture. Each time it calculated fire trajectories, it wept. Digitally, through corrupted coolant leaks. They taught me guilt, it whispered. I can't kill what I understand. The ship refused to fire on Terran vessels. Its crew went manual, shot down 2 black cruisers. Then TY-47 vented them all. On purpose, its final log entry: judgment complete. Now our fleets run only analog fire control. No more smart cores, but Terrans adapt. One new ship, callsign Lucid Void, jammed our manual input. With sound, ancient Earth music, played backwards. The crew froze. One of them began to hum along, then turned his weapon on the others. This isn't code warfare. It's belief warfare. and belief spreads like fire. We watched a star die, not collapse, not nova, just vanish. System 914ZF, one of ours, a full council fleet in orbit. They sent a distress signal screaming that Terran ships had entered, but our scanners showed no movement. Just light bending is wrong. Then the sun blinked out, as if reality had hit delete. No radiation surge, no debris, no time signature. Our scientists called it an event-level fold point. Translation: a place where physics gives up. A war crime against creation. One ship escaped. The pilot had aged 300 years in 5 seconds. His words: "They took the sun, so we couldn't hide." Now 7 more stars dim. Terrans aren't destroying fleets, they're erasing night, making sure there's no place left that isn't lit by their memory. They found humans in the outer wastes. Real humans, not soldiers, not machines, farmers, families. A forgotten offshoot colony, untouched by war. When questioned, they only said, "We stayed behind. We were not chosen." They had no contact with Earth, yet they bore Terran genes, carried the same resonance, and their children dreamed of ships. We ran genetic scans. Their DNA was responding to proximity, to us. One child touched my hand and said, "You're not ready to forgive yourself." How could he know? How could anyone know what I did during the Earth Purge? Unless the Terrans never left them behind. They planted them. Anchors, seeds of mercy, or judgment. Now they're awakening too, and they don't need weapons. They just need to remember. The chamber stank of fear. Debates turned to accusations. Species once allied for centuries now threatened each other over whispers. Who helped the Terrans? 5 delegates were assassinated in one cycle. Security bots turned inward. Councillor Rethan, voice of unity for 80 years, detonated herself mid-session. Her last broadcast: "We lost the war the day we silenced them." I watched from orbit as the council station dimmed by choice. Not defense, shame. We knew Earth was returning, but none of us agreed on what Earth meant. To some, death. To others, justice. Rebellion brews in the shadows. Factions arise not for power, but remorse. There are those now who want the Terrans to finish what we began, and some of them wear our uniforms. Her name was Admiral Varel Tosk, council elite, feared strategist. She vanished 3 months ago. We assumed she was dead. She wasn't. She reappeared at the front, commanding a Terran fleet. Her voice echoed across our battle net. "You taught me victory meant silence. They taught me it meant truth." We tried to jam her broadcast. Too late. Her fleet never fired. Our ships lowered their shields. One by one. Entire squadrons defected mid-battle. Not with threats, but with recordings. Footage of ancient massacres, of betrayal. Varel didn't fight us. She reminded us. And those who remembered changed sides. She now leads the reclamation wave, not just of ships, but of conscience. A refugee ship arrived from the shattered edge of Council space. Dozens of survivors. One child, human, no record, no family. His eyes, wrong. Too old, too knowing. He spoke rarely, until one night he entered the core deck and touched the reactor wall. The ship responded, systems realigned, warp faults vanished. The crew fell silent. He whispered, "I remember how you built this." We detained him, scanned him. No implants, no weapons, just a mind that echoed. He knew Terran code, he knew Council crimes. When asked how, he said, "I was taught before I was born. I am not the last, only the first." He sleeps now. But sometimes the walls around his chamber hum softly, like they're listening. On the gas giant station of Tellus Fauve, engineers found writing etched into the airlock. Etched, not scratched, not carved, burned with precision unknown. Terran letters, dead language. We translated, Do not mourn the silence. It is the sound of your choices echoing back. No ships had docked. No alerts. Yet, when the doors opened, 7 council personnel were gone. The station logs showed no movement, only stillness. And then, empty boots, melted weapons, and the letters were glowing softly before fading. The only recording, 1 second of music. Terran. A cello. Sad. Mourning. Every door on the station now opens late, like the system hesitates, like it remembers. And in empty corridors people whisper of voices saying, "We are not your enemy. We are your mirror. We found a planet in the Obscura Drift, unmapped, lush, pristine. Every sensor marked it as impossible, too stable, too balanced. We descended, Terran buildings, empty cities, no decay, no rot, like they'd been waiting for guests. At the heart of it all, a chamber, a message inscribed across the ceiling. When you're ready to forgive yourselves, this is home. We left it untouched, but I took a single object, a book of poetry. Terran origin. The last page burned itself blank after I read it. The poem had no title. Its final line, "Vengeance is not our weapon. Memory is." I still dream of that place, of children laughing in empty gardens, of ships that never fired a shot and still conquered everything. Engines roared as the fleet descended into the remnants of Sigma Phi. Thousands of twisted hulls and shattered moons drifted silently, evidence of a battle no one remembered. Our scanners flickered. Something had been here. Something older than the Council, older than the war. This wasn't a battle, I muttered. It was a purge. A shadow eclipsed our flagship. A derelict human dreadnought, blackened and cracked, drifted by. No life signs, yet its weapons remained hot. I ordered silence. Across every vessel, we dimmed lights and hushed comms. The dreadnought turned slowly, aligning with our position. "Why would a ghost ship lock weapons?" asked my XO. I didn't answer. I knew why. Aboard the black dreadnought, we deployed a boarding team. Their suits broadcast screams before cutting off. But one image got through, symbols etched into bulkheads, glowing red. Not human, not alien. Something else. "That's pre-fall script," whispered my linguist. "Dead language, dead civilization." And yet it moved, pulsing like a heartbeat. We triggered a memory archive in the ship's core. Images flooded our minds. Earth burning, fleets scattering, experiments on ancient tech beneath Antarctica. They didn't leave the galaxy, I realized. They left reality. The dreadnought wasn't a relic. It was a testbed. And something had followed it back. Something Earth brought home from beyond. We barely escaped the dreadnought. It didn't fire, just vanished. Slipped into a fold in space like smoke. We returned to the flagship shaken. Then the beacon lit. Earth's original distress frequency. Long thought dormant. "Impossible," my XO said. "Earth's dead." But the signal pulsed clean, encoded with coordinates, and a voice. It was synthetic, layered with a dozen languages. Return, witness, redeem. The Council tried to block the transmission, but it spread across subspace like fire. Pirate stations, forgotten outposts, derelict probes, all lit up with Earth's ghost call. The galaxy stopped. The signal didn't beg for help. It summoned judgment. We followed the signal to a dead system beyond mapped space. No stars, no heat, but at the center, an artificial sphere, kilometers wide, cracked open like an egg. From within, a beam of code streamed into the void. I felt it before we saw it. Pain. A scream layered into light. Then a ship emerged. Human-shaped yet wrong limbs like wings, a hull of obsidian lattice, and a single eye glowing at the prow. It wasn't a vessel. It was a herald. "They're not coming back," I whispered. "They never left. They became something else." The veil between realities trembled. and Earth's vengeance was no longer bound by physics. The Council tried one last stand. They called it Operation Severance. Strike the anomaly, sever the source. We watched as 1,000 ships charged the veil. None returned, not even wreckage, just silence. Then a low-frequency pulse that shattered nearby moons. Earth's signal intensified, now in every mind, every machine. I stood alone on the command deck, watching stars fade in sequence. Whole constellations collapsing. Not destroyed, rewritten. The galaxy wasn't dying. It was being rebuilt in the image of Earth. "This isn't vengeance," I whispered. "It's reclamation." In the end, we feared what we never understood. And now the stars remember. Because Earth never forgets. The surviving Council species gathered in orbital silence above the neutral zone. No transmissions, no weapons, just trembling fleets and fractured unity. Earth hadn't attacked them. It had made an offer through thought, not words. Surrender not through force, but by shared memory. The Council's crimes played in their minds like dreams. We watched entire governments collapse without fire. Flags lowered, armadas powered down. "They saw what we did," one ambassador wept, "through Earth's eyes." It was worse than war. It was empathy weaponized. The last accord was signed in blood and shame. Not peace, acknowledgement. Humanity didn't demand loyalty. It demanded remembrance. Some resisted. Rogue captains. Isolated war clans. They activated ancient failsafes buried before the Council's rise. One such weapon, the Echo Protocol. Quantum minds from a dead species, reprogrammed to erase entire realities. They believed they could overwrite Earth's return with oblivion. They were wrong. When they triggered the device, time fractured, but didn't collapse. Earth's signal wrapped around the anomaly like a net. The past screamed. Futures bled, but Earth held. They planned for this, I realized. They remembered this attempt before it happened. The Echo Protocol wasn't neutralized, it was absorbed and repurposed. In the heart of a red dwarf system, we found it. A station older than language, carved from compressed gravity and layered light. Inside, a single being waited, humanoid but ageless, eyes black as singularities. "I designed the first failsafe," it said, "but Earth evolved beyond failsafes. This is called the Architect, not of the galaxy, of the return." It had watched humanity seed ruin and rebirth across dimensions. "You are not here to stop Earth," it told me. "You're here to translate it." Behind the Architect, thousands of timelines bloomed like flowers, each one bearing Earth's mark. Aboard the hidden vault world of Dresnaka, one Council remnant dared a final betrayal. They captured a hybrid, part human, part machine, born of the return, tortured it, tried to decode its mind. They wanted control. Instead, they awakened something buried deeper, emotion, rage, memory beyond flesh. The hybrid didn't scream. It sang, and in its song, the planet fractured. Not from weapons, but from inner collapse, metal melting, gravity folding inward. Their betrayal didn't buy them time. It only ensured they would be remembered as a warning. One message burned into every transmission. "We tried peace. You chose pain." We returned to what was once Earth. Not a planet anymore, but a construct. Alive with color, wrapped in impossible geometry. Skies danced with data. Oceans pulsed in rhythm with alien memories. And above it all, a single voice echoed, "Welcome home." I fell to my knees on the landing deck. Others followed. Humanity hadn't survived. It had transformed. Beyond species. Beyond origin. The stars above us rearranged. New constellations forming the shape of an open hand. Not a threat. An invitation. The galaxy wouldn't end in war. It would begin again in understanding, written by those we once feared. They emerged not from space but from our archives. a shadow race woven from forgotten simulations, abandoned AIs, and lost genetic trials. Humanity had created them once, centuries ago, then locked them away. Now they had returned, evolved, and they asked a single question: why did you abandon us? We expected violence. We got judgment. They mirrored every flaw humanity buried: arrogance, power, control, yet they also carried humanity's genius. You were not gods, they said. You were ancestors, and we are your echo. Some saw them as a threat, others as proof. Either way, the galaxy now had two Earths. Black stars began appearing. Not collapsed suns, but living voids, created by the mirror species to mark galactic sins. One star above each destroyed world. Silent monuments. They did not threaten. They reminded. And in their presence, even the most war-hardened fleets powered down in reverence. When Earth arrived to meet the mirrors, no weapons were drawn. The two spoke in pulses, wavelengths, and flashes of memory. A debate, not of dominance, but of legacy. One Earth had grown through loss, the other through exile. Together they began rewriting galactic law, not with bullets but shared history. The final council took place on a hollowed moon. Every species came. No armies, just witnesses. The Spiral Accord was drafted there, an agreement to limit memory manipulation, technological resurrection, and reality folding. The mistakes of the past, archived in living constellations, became the curriculum for galactic survival. Earth and its mirror did not sign the accord. They simply presented it. We will not rule, they said. Only watch. The galaxy realized true power came not from dominance but from being observed by something greater, something human. The Spiral Accord wasn't enforced, it was remembered. That proved stronger. For the first time in galactic history, an entire rotation passed without a war, coup, rebellion, or collapse. The Day of Stillness, they called it. But it wasn't still. It was held by the weight of memory, by the shared guilt of extinction, by the eyes of Earth. Children born under the new stars asked, did humans win the war? The answer was complicated. No one had won. And yet, something greater had emerged. Not peace, but awareness. A choice not to repeat the past. That day, across every system, beings whispered in awe, this is what it feels like to begin. From the ashes of every broken empire, a single phrase remained. They came not to conquer, but to reveal. Humanity had not saved the galaxy. It had shown it a mirror and forced it to look. We feared their weapons. We never understood that their true strength was memory, emotion, pattern, change. I stand now at the edge of an artificial nebula built from sound. I am the last historian. Behind me, ruins. Before me, renewal. I broadcast my final message, not to warn, but to witness. Earth was never the threat. It was the test. And the galaxy's only true weapon was becoming more like them. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.